I feel like before we get into this entire drama, I need to add a short disclaimer by saying I am a Game Grumps fan. Not only am I a Game Grumps fan, I've been a fan of the Game Grumps since 2014, I would guess. I think the first thing I ever saw from them was their playthrough of PT, the playable teaser for the sadly canceled Silent Hills game that was going to be directed by Hideo Kojima. Their playthrough of that was what got me into Game Grumps, and since then I have been a pretty hardcore fan. Now my love for Game Grumps has been affected by a great many things over the years, most notably the JonTron scandal. I believe JonTron had left Game Grumps shortly before this happened, but JonTron kind of dropped into the alt-right a little bit, and when he debated Destiny, which, by the way, the debate between JonTron and Destiny is what got me into lefty politics, what pulled me out of the alt-right rabbit hole. JonTron went on to Destiny's stream and was like, just talked about all of the alt-right talking points outside of the Jewish question. He didn't talk about like the Jewish question stuff, but besides that, he did basically all the alt-right talking points. But that didn't really affect my opinion of Game Grumps much. And since then, even recently, I've watched quite a bit of Game Grumps. I love the Game Grumps. I'd say my favorite series from them is their Spore series. Whenever they're making their horrific dick monsters in the Spore Creature Creator, even to this day, as a 21-year-old full-grown man, I still laugh my ass off when they make their little dick monsters, their little fucking insults to God himself. Yeah, I made Lonnie watch it the other day. She cringed because she's a full-grown woman, and that's the expectation that you would have. But something to know about the Game Grumps is that over the years, for the most part, Aaron, who is one of the two guys behind Game Grumps, has been a constant. There's been a few other co-hosts over the years, notably JonTron, but for the last, half decade or more, it has been Dan Avidan, who's been the co-host of Aaron on Game Grumps. And Dan Avidan, I think they have fantastic chemistry. I'd say Game Grumps has been the best it's ever been once it became Dan and Aaron. They have very good chemistry. Dan is very funny. Aaron is very funny. And even outside of Game Grumps, we can see that Dan, or as I will be calling him from now on, Danny Sexbang, has a pretty good musical career. He's he's the lead singer of a band that in itself is quite successful with over 1 million subs on YouTube called Ninja Sex Party. And I think this is probably, in my opinion, their best song, 6969, which has probably one of the... this song's fucking amazing. Let me give you guys a sample. I won't show it on screen because I don't know how friendly Twitch is with some of the visuals that occur here, but let me just play a little bit of the song here for you guys, just to get an idea of how much of a fucking banger some of their music is. Their music high key. I wouldn't even say low key. High key slaps. Okay? It is phenomenal. So you can imagine that when I found out about this drama happening with our boy Dan Avidan, or Danny Sexbang, I was quite upset. Let me tell you guys the story. I was sitting on the toilet having a very, very bad day. That's all I'm going to say, okay? If you guys watched my stream yesterday, you'll know how I ended last night's stream. I was having, as I like to say, the tumbly rumblies. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'll get to that in a minute, but goddamn, thank you. And I got out of the shower, and I sat down, and I get a message from Lonnie saying, "You should talk about the Game Grumps stuff." And I was like, what Game Grumps stuff? Uh-oh. So I click on my Twitter homepage, and I see Game Grumps is trending. And I click on it, and I went down a rabbit hole that I have to say has left me feeling quite drained. There is so much shit going on around this drama. I'm going to say this right now. I can't talk about all of it. I can't. If I tried to go over all of the stuff going on behind the scenes, I would be doing a disservice to the entire situation. I'm sure some big drama YouTuber at some point will make a prepared video where they go over all of the receipts going back multiple years, because that's how far back this drama goes, and you will be able to find out everything going on here. I am going to go over the most relevant and the most popular things going on with all of this, and I'm going to give my take on it. That is what this video is going to be. I do not trust myself to go over everything, but I will do my best. Anyway. This Reddit post went viral the other day. Before we get into it, I want to point out that this is posted on Rant Grumps, which is a dedicated Game Grumps hate subreddit. This subreddit is dedicated almost exclusively to hating the Game Grumps. And I'd like to point out that the name of the people who sub to this subreddit, the people who are members of it, they call themselves Cum Efslers. So, at first at least, when I saw this, I took it with a grain of salt, because this seems to be an extremely edgy, possibly most likely reactionary, ultra edgy forum dedicated to hating on the Game Grumps. And when it comes to my side of YouTube, whenever I hear accusations of, particularly of a sexual nature, about a figure and they're coming from a dedicated hate subreddit, I typically disregard them. There are entire communities online dedicated to hating me, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're calling me a pedophile. No evidence whatsoever, just because they don't like me. That typically tends to be the go-to for trying to discredit public figures. If you call them like a rapist or a groomer or a pedophile, then typically speaking, most people will disregard them and probably really hate them, right? Well, let's go over the post, because it alleges that Danny Sexbang is a groomer. Let's talk about it. Video evidence of the Dan accusations. For over a year now, there have been accusations about Dan Avidan sexting, sleeping, and ghosting. Ghosting being when you suddenly just go silent and stop responding to somebody. Younger fans. I say younger fans, by the way, not underage. As it turns out, I've yet to see any evidence so far that Dan has sexted underage fans. By younger, they mean like 18 and up. Like in the younger range of being of age. Which is still, in some cases, creepy, but, you know. Among other things. God damn it, they said among. What's so funny about Sussamogus? I have to say that every time I see among or sus. Several girls have come forward publicly, while others have contacted me, or others privately. A few days ago, another girl who wishes to remain anonymous for obvious reasons contacted me saying that she wanted to come forward, sharing both her story and some physical evidence. To prove that her story is true, and this is indeed Dan, she has given me permission to show a video she received from him. So this is the video.
So I just got to my room at the resort in Mexico. Girl, look at this jacuzzi tub. Oh, it's got water jets that shoot out of the seats. They got fucking seats. Oh man, 2 seats in fact. Wish you were here to take up that other one and then crawl onto the first one so we could fuck in this. Anyway. So
honestly, it is cringy because we're looking at like the sexty conversations of another person. But like, I feel like Danny Sexbang is probably the only person in the world who could deliver that line in the least cringy way possible. I want you to think about that right now. For what was being said there, that probably came off the least cringy that as it could possibly come off. Just because Dan is a very gifted comedian. However, it continues. Now, that on its own isn't bad. That's just texting somebody that you are in some sexual relationship with and being like, hey, I'm at a resort in Mexico. There's a hot tub. I wish we could fuck in the hot tub. That is something I would say to Lonnie. There's nothing wrong with that so far, as well as there being no evidence that the person that he was sexting was underage. So, let's continue. The video was followed up by a request from Dan asking her to tell him how she would like to be fucked in the tub. Obviously, here's Dan. Haha, thank you. I enjoyed this, though, but that's fine. Sleep well, handsome. Night-night. So this is a message from her. This is very enthusiastic, I'd like to point out. This is from 2017, by the way. This is very enthusiastic, obviously. Like, this is, calling him handsome, saying she enjoyed it, sleep well. This, to me at least, seems like pretty enthusiastic consent to sexual activity, adding a little heart there and everything. The video, my God, I've never seen something so beautiful and fancy. I really wish I was there too. Shit. It seems consensual to me, personally. It is. If you feel comfortable with the idea, you should send me a little video saying that you'd like to fuck me in that tub. That would do things for me. Haha. Now, this is a very cringy line, but sexting is always cringy. It always is. Like, if you're one person reading another person's sexting messages, it's always going to... Stop with the Pepe mods, Dan, what the fuck? If you want to say Pepe mods, Dan, what the fuck right now, if you think this is cringy, if these messages on their own are cringy, I want you to send me your sexting messages right now. I want you to DM them to me on Discord right now. We can read them on stream, block out any docs or NSFW, pictures or whatever. We can read those off and see how smooth you are when it comes to sexting. We'll see if the chat doesn't cringe at you. If you're that confident about it, send them up. If you're that confident that your sexting is less cringe, yeah, our messages are way more cringe, Xander Hall. Oh yeah, absolutely. I went into deep detail about how I wanted to fucking never mind. I'm not gonna listen. This is a serious topic, okay? I'm not gonna do any funnies here. I'm gonna do as few funnies as I possibly can. But yeah, I do like that he said if you feel comfortable with the idea. Now, I feel like this is a time where we probably have to talk about power dynamics. All right. It is a very popular talking point on the left that essentially under no circumstances should a large celebrity or content creator engage in sexual activity with a fan. Because, due to a parasocial relationship and the idea of being starstruck, then there could be a power dynamic that occurs there that could cause the fan to engage in a lapse of judgment that could affect their ability to consent or understand what they're getting themselves into. And I used to agree with this in basically every case. Then earlier today, I had an argument with Lonnie about it. Not an argument, but a talk with Lonnie about it. And she actually convinced me that I feel like a lot of the online left in particular can be a little bit extreme when it comes to their judgment of fan-creator relationships. So, as many of you guys might know, large celebrities having sex with their fans has been a thing for a very long time. At least a century, I would guess. Maybe even longer. A lot of, really big, music artists would go to concerts, and then afterwards there would be the groupies there, and then they would have a one-night stand with the groupies. And 99 times out of 100, it wouldn't be a big deal. The women who went to those concerts, and it's mostly women, let's be clear. The women who went to those concerts would be like, oh, shit. Yeah, let's fuck. And then they would fuck, expecting nothing else out of it. And then it would be a fun story. They would be like, oh, yeah, I I fucked insert celebrity. We had a one night stand, and it would be a fun story for them to tell, and it wasn't a big deal. They didn't feel like they didn't expect anything else out of it, and that's just how it went. Now, don't get me wrong. Abuse and exploitation has taken place in those settings, but it seems like in the vast majority of cases, it's all right. But I feel like a lot of people, especially on the left, have, I guess they've sort of overblown how often this shit happens, because you don't hear about the times where a creator has sex with a fan and nothing bad happens. You have to realize, most of the time, when a content creator has sex with a fan and there are no negative outcomes, you're never going to hear about it. But when something bad does happen, you will hear about it. It's, I believe the term is reporting bias. I think there's like a really good analogy for this. It's like the infographic of like a fighter plane, and it's got all the red holes in it. And you would think that the most deadly shots would be from the holes where you see the holes, but in reality, the most deadly shots are from the ones that you don't see, because those are the planes that didn't make it back to report this is where the plane got shot, right? Not the perfect analogy, but yeah, it's like it's interesting, right? So here's my opinion when it comes to fan-creator relationships, right? I think it is, whether or not it is harmful is on a case-by-case basis. It really is. Because if you want to take the hardline stance that content creators should not do anything with fans, then you are going to find that you are going to make, it is an unrealistic expectation in every way. For example, take someone like David Bowie, who, yes, I know, apparently he had sex with underage fans. I don't advocate for that. Let's ignore that for now. If you're a large enough public figure, who the fuck can you have sex with that doesn't already know who you are, where there isn't a power dynamic there, besides other celebrities? That massively limits your dating pool. If you're Pepe Yikesing at me right now, go fuck yourself. Wait until I finish my point. You severely limit your dating pool, or your like sex having pool there. You really do, which is unfortunate. Because I mean, God, if you're a celebrity, I mean, it almost becomes like I don't get to have sex with like 99.9% of people in this world because I have more power than them. And so then they would be unable to consent and it be a responsible relationship. And at the same time, there's sort of an arbitrary line, right? The line is very, very arbitrary, right? So, for example, hypers, if you've seen the tendency for woke scolds on Twitter to say that someone dating another person who has more Twitter followers than them is grooming, because that person having more Twitter followers has a power dynamic going on. I've seen it. Have you? Maybe you haven't. I've seen it quite a few times. I feel like that's an extreme example, but where do we go from this content creator is exploiting their fans to you can't date this person because they have less Twitter followers than you, and that is exploitation? The line is arbitrary. And all I ask here is that when we talk about large figures dating or having sexual relationships with fans, we act with a little bit more nuance, right? We encourage fans of a content creator to think critically, consider their situation, but we especially encourage those large figures to responsibly assess whether or not the person they're engaging with in a relationship or having sex with, whether or not that person is capable of consenting, realistically speaking. If they're clearly too starstruck to understand the consequences of their actions, maybe it's best to just say no. Do not engage in a sexual act with them. But if it's somebody who's chill and is like, hey, I really like your music, and they're just some nobody, and like, I'm a big fan of you, you want to fuck? that's probably a case where it's okay, right? I really feel like a lot of people on the left do take it a little bit far. We need to look at these situations with nuance, and in cases where something bad does happen, then, or grooming does occur, then we condemn it, and we do what we can to try to help the situation. But I think saying that content creators or large celebrities can't have sex with people who aren't also large celebrities or who are even fans is kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, don't you think? So, personally, I think when it comes to this message, I do like that he said, if you feel comfortable with the idea. Obviously, if there was some weird thing going on when it came to like power imbalances and she was just like so enamored with Dan that she would have said yes to anything just because she didn't want to disappoint her favorite content creator, then this doesn't really mean much. I saw a glimpse of Vosh's coverage of this topic earlier. I'm going to go a different direction with it because I kind of disagree with Vosh on some things that he said during his coverage earlier today. But this is one thing he did get right. If you disagree with my take on this, then you're accusing me of statutory rape or some kind of weird power dynamic stuff with my girlfriend. My girlfriend liked my content and messaged me. We started talking, then we started dating, and now we live together and we've been dating for over a year. By some people's metrics, you could have considered Lonnie a fan. If you disagree with my take on this, then you have to bite down the bullet of saying that I have a bad power dynamic with Lonnie. Or I guess you could say because Lonnie is 28 years old, then she's older than me, so that balances out the creator age dynamic. I don't know. Listen, I personally, I will not date a woman who is younger than 25 or 26 years old, and I'm 21. I do not date women that are my age. I date women that are well older than me. I'd be willing to date a woman who's in her mid to late 30s. Okay, I'm a MILF chaser. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is just, when it comes to the fan-creator dynamic, obviously there are areas where abuse could occur, but I think for the most part, we need to look at it with each situation with nuance, okay? All right. So this continues. Her experience with Dan matches the pattern of the girls that have come forward. While she was underage, she privately contacted him as a fan, and he more than happily engaged in conversation. Let's go ahead and look at this message. So this is a message. Oh my God, please fucking stop. Oh, well, that happened. So this is Jesus Christ, go away. This is a conversation that happened between them back in 2013 when she was underage. Thanks, blank. You rock. And so does blank. That's where blank, 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 blank. A lot of shit blanked out in here. I don't know if that's docs or what. I get pretty uncomfortable when I see a lot of redacted shit from screenshots when it comes to accusations like this. I really do feel uncomfortable when I see this much stuff blurred out. I feel like with situations like this, it's best to try and leave as much evidence public as possible and to redact as little as you can. Docs, I understand. Nudes, I understand, but I don't know what's being said here, but it kind of comes off as sus to me how much stuff is being blocked out. Maybe it's addresses. I don't know. It just seems weird. Oh my goodness, I'll hide my loved ones. You should be in blank. We could be best friends, Dan. I'm actually hoping to visit there and do some shows in early 2014. I will keep you posted. Woo. I'm so excited now. Yay. Love you, man. So, I do want to say that this can come off as pretty weird, right? So it seems like he messaged her saying happy birthday or something, or just they ended up messaging. There was a birthday message that happened later down the line, but they ended up messaging each other, and he said, yeah, maybe we can see each other at a show. And it seems like, for the most part, at least from what was put forward, and if there was more evidence of sexual activity that happened when she was underage, it would be public. This is coming from a person who was attempting to make these accusations. If they had more evidence of sexual interactions happening between them when she was underage, it would be here. It would be in this post, and this is all that we get. So, looking at this now, this seems pretty damn innocent. Yeah, this is just somebody saying to a fan who messaged them. Mind you, Dan was much smaller at the time, probably had the opportunity to respond to a lot more fan messages saying, oh yeah, thank you. I've done the same thing. I get tons of messages from fans. I wake up every morning with fans message me on Discord, and if I have fewer messages than usual, sometimes I'll go through and I'll say, hey, thank you, I'm glad you like my stuff. Have a good one, or you're super cool. Just like some nice message. It makes that person feel nice. I just think it's a nice thing to do. And then later that year, she ended up turning 18. I want to point out, this was in September. 2 months later, she ended up turning 18. So this girl was 17, on the edge of turning 18. It was clearly enthusiastic on her end. There's no evidence of grooming so far. So far, from what we've seen, no evidence of grooming. As the years went by, and she became of legal age, literally 2 months later, their conversations turned into sext, and eventually led to her meeting him backstage at a Game Grumps live show where sexual activity occurred. A couple weeks after, all contact from Dan ceased. So, this is what happened. She messaged Dan when she was 17, right on the edge of turning 18, right? I imagine Dan got a look at her, said, wow, she's 17, about to turn 18, too young for me to do anything with, but she's pretty. That's probably what Dan thought. So engaged her in conversation, and after she turned 18, they started sexting, and then they had sex a couple years later. I'm going to be honest, guys. This is not grooming. This is not grooming. This isn't what grooming is, okay? That's not what grooming is. If you meet somebody when they're 17, right about to turn 18, and then you don't do anything with them while they're underage, and then like a month later they turn 18, and then a couple years later you actually do something sexual, you actually have sex, that's not what grooming is. Please, for the love of God, learn the definition of grooming. When you try to say that this situation is grooming, you take away all of the weight that the word grooming has behind it, all of the meaning it has, and you do a disservice to actual victims of grooming. Yeah, I'm sorry. He's in his late 30s, dude. It's creepy as fuck. I'm going to be honest. Back then, he would have been in his early 30s. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm in my early 20s. I'm 21. Maybe this is only my own personal bias. I would absolutely date a woman in her like mid to late 30s, okay? Maybe you think that's weird. Maybe it's my own personal bias. I don't see a big deal with it. I would happily date a woman in her mid to late 30s. If it's two consenting adults, then I don't see it as a big deal. Now, personally, I think that most people probably aren't fully developed in their brain until they're around 25. However, I don't think it's severe enough that like a 18, 19, or 20-year-old can't figure out what's going on enough to be able to consent to like a sex with a 30-year-old, okay? I don't see that as like a big deal, okay? You see, where power dynamics become a problem is when the person who you're engaging in a relationship with has the opportunity to ruin your life, right? I don't think having a one-night stand with like a rock star or a YouTuber as just some random person is equivalent to the risk of, I don't know, fucking your boss or your teacher. Because if you're fucking your boss, for example, if you decide you don't want to fuck anymore and you want to say no, your boss can fire you and boom, you don't have a job anymore. You've lost your income. With your teacher, they could tank your grades, get you kicked out of school, all sorts of terrible things. There is a direct pipeline from deciding you don't want to say yes and your life being ruined in that situation than there is with, I just said no to my favorite YouTuber and then he said, oh, well then fuck you, right? And then obviously if you say no and then he rapes you, then obviously that's a whole different situation than power dynamics going on that needs to be condemned. But I don't know. I feel like people take the power dynamics thing a little too far with these conversations at times. But I want to get to the last part here. A couple weeks later, all contact from Dan ceased. I'd say the thing that Dan is guilty for here is being kind of an asshole in this situation. Not gonna lie, what Dan did was a complete dick move. Talking to a girl for a very long time, for like multiple years, and then having sex with her, like one night stand, and then like a couple weeks later just ghosting her. Kind of an asshole move, and that's what I really want to get into here. But before I do, I want to point out that there is an entire, what appears to be a mostly unbiased recounting of events on our Game Grumps, a subreddit that is not dedicated to hating on the Game Grumps and whose members do not call themselves cum F-slurs. Just want to point that out. Ooh, that's for drama we're getting to later. If you want to check this out, I'll go ahead and drop a link in the chat. This goes over all of the drama going back multiple years with Dan. I highly recommend you check that out and read up on it. I've read it, and it mostly just supports the same narrative that this post has already perpetuated. The idea that Dan fucks some of his fans and then ghosts them, and that's basically it. He does not seem to have done anything even approximating grooming or anything like that. It's just mostly been he has a tendency to fuck his fans. Now I want to talk about why this happens. Why do you get these typically dudes who get a lot of popularity? We're mostly talking YouTubers here. Get a lot of popularity as a YouTuber, fuck a fan, and then ghost them. Why does this happen? Well, I want to say there might actually be an evolution. Evolution. There might actually be a biological reason for this. Okay? No human on Earth, or how do I want to say this? I want to make sure I word this as well as possible. Okay, I know how. The concept of being famous and having tons of people thinking about you, talking about you, and pursuing you is a very new thing. The idea of being a celebrity with a fan base, it's a very new idea. Especially the idea of becoming a YouTuber and having a fan base is also a very new idea. So I don't think that humans have really adapted as a species to being able to handle the amount of attention that you get as a celebrity. This is both negative and positive attention, right? And especially sexual attention. We're going to go across all of this, right? For example, the average person can probably handle some dude on the street saying, hey, fuck you, you're a cunt. Like, someone does that to you, you say, hey, fuck you, and you forget about it by the next day. You don't even remember it, right? However, as a YouTuber, you're just some person who, at least at my size even, I've got thousands and thousands and thousands of people that hate me. Like, deep down, they hate me as a human being. They think I am subhuman. And I've been exposed to thousands of messages saying as such. And that does have an impact on your mental health. No matter how thick your skin is, no human being has a mental fortitude to handle thousands of people hating them on a personal level when they don't even know them. It's just not something people can handle. At the same time, nobody on earth can also handle dealing with thousands, millions even, of people calling you a genius, or saying that you're hot, or saying that they love your content, or they love you. This will inevitably inflate anybody's ego. Nobody on earth is humble enough, besides maybe a few people that I could think of if I thought about it for a while. I can think of a few YouTubers, like anyone who knows who Uber Haxer Nova is. He is extremely humble and doesn't really let the fame get to his head, but this is like a one-off thing, right? Most people just cannot handle the amount of positive praise they get and not let it get to their head and inflate their ego. This is a thing that happens pretty commonly. Especially with YouTubers who, for most of their life, were probably complete nobodies and then started uploading videos on YouTube from their bedroom, and now all of a sudden millions of people are fawning over them. It is snap. It is in the grand scheme of their lives, it is a blink in an eye. It happens in the blink of an eye. It's like a snap, right? And then finally, we have the sexual part. Most people, especially men, in our society are the ones that pursue women. Does anyone disagree? Hypers, if you agree with me, does anyone disagree that in our society, it is mostly expected that men pursue women and women not pursue men? We all agree with this, right? That's basically everybody. In most cases, men grow up and are socialized to be the ones pursuing women. And honestly, and I think this has to do with a lot with toxic masculinity, it is sort of drilled in their head that their value as a man is essentially predicated on how many female sexual partners that they can gain, right? And so it becomes a almost side mission of their, in many cases, for a lot of men, it becomes their main mission, but at least a side mission. You know how like when you're playing a game and you get like a little side mission on the side of the screen, it's always there and it's something you're supposed to be doing on the side as you're pursuing your other objectives? It almost becomes a side mission on the side of the screen for like 90% of men, that they are constantly out to fuck women, right? And that's what society impresses on them. And that is their job to instigate it. However, when out of nowhere, you've all of a sudden got thousands, millions maybe, of women now coming to you as a guy after society tells you that it's your job to pursue women and that it is hard for men to get women, and it can be. Well, I'm not making excuses for dudes who take advantage of this in a negative way, but it can be hard not to want to celebrate that and say yes when women offer to fuck. That can be difficult. It's like spending your whole life in the pursuit of money, and all of a sudden, money starts landing on your desk, and you have the option to take it or leave it. Most people would take it, right? The question is, I guess if we want to follow through on the analogy, every time you take that money, are you actually taking the money from somebody else? In this case, to make it as analogous as possible, a poor person, for example. That's when it becomes a problem, right? So yeah, I think at the end of the day, the moral of the story with this whole Dan drama is that Dan seems to be a person who's allowed the fame to go to his head a bit and has most definitely taken advantage of this drama. Apparently, he's done some other abusive shit, most notably to a woman named Katie, who also worked on the Game Grumps project and who has since written a play about how bad her experience at the Game Grumps, most notably Erin, was. I recommend you look at her story to learn about that. I already have looked at it, and it seems like overall the main pull that I've gotten from it is that in private, Dan is somebody who has allowed fame and notoriety to go to his head. He has used his fame to have sex with fans, which can be fine and can be a problem depending on the cases. And it seems like in a few of those cases, some of those fans have felt like they have been taken advantage of and they feel upset about it. And that, of course, is on Dan. It was his responsibility to ensure that he was engaging in sexual intercourse with or sexual relationships with was fully okay with it, capable of consenting, and was fully aware of what the situation was. Like, for example, if you're a large public figure and you fuck a fan, with that fan having the impression that you're now in a relationship and it's not just a one-night stand, or you're just fuck buddies, that is on you. It is your responsibility as the one in power in that situation to make it very clear, no, we're not dating. We're just either fuck buddies or having a one-night stand. Because once you start giving that person a false impression of what's going on between you two, that's when it becomes a big problem. That's when power dynamics start to become an issue between fans and creators. But overall, it just seems like Dan is somebody who's allowed the fame to go through to his head. As you would expect, it's inflated his ego. He's taken advantage of it to get sex. And in some of those cases, it's resulted in some women feeling very hurt. And they feel the need to talk about it. Is Dan a groomer? No. Dan's not a groomer. None of the cases that I've looked into, and I've done a lot of... I've been researching this all day. In none of these cases would I say that Dan was a groomer. I think anybody who's claiming Dan is a groomer is discrediting that word and taking its meaning away from it. And that's pretty problematic in itself, I think. And overall, It's just a shitty situation. And I think what Dan needs to do is apologize to these people and change his attitude and change the way that he goes about his sexual relationships with people that know of his online presence. He needs to make sure that when he has sex with somebody, they know that most likely they're just going to fuck and he'll never talk to them again. And not give them the impression that they're going to have like a relationship, like an actual dating relationship. Is there anything else I missed? Yeah, Lonnie, what do you want to say? Is there anything else I missed out on here? I imagine Lonnie's typing. My jaw will not pop. I hate having TMJ. The gross exaggeration of the accusations also sort of excuses what he actually did wrong. That is true. Everybody right now who is out there on Twitter overblowing these accusations and like changing definitions of words and then using those words to describe what he did are doing a disservice to the victims, okay? And you're doing a disservice to the victims of everybody else who's been victimized by a large content creator or someone in more power than them. You are doing a disservice to them, and you need to stop. You can criticize Dan for his actions without dishonestly criticizing him. What he did is wrong and deserves condemnation, but it needs to be honest, accurate condemnation. Otherwise, it doesn't mean anything, and you're just hurting everybody involved. Anyway, that's all I have to say about it. If you enjoyed this video, if you haven't already, leave a like, subscribe, and ring the bell icon. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, the link's in the description, where you'll also find a link to the fan Discord. Fantastic community that you should definitely join. If you ever want to speak to me, debate me, whatever, that is the place to do it. My fan Discord. It's a cool community you should join. You can also buy merch, the link in the description as well. Or if you want to support me financially further, you can donate or sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live. I always appreciate the financial support. It's what lets me do this for a living. You can also, on YouTube, super chat donate or hit the join button to become a channel member. Those are always very much appreciated, and that's what allows me to do this for a living. So your support, without it, I would be living on the street, eating shoes. That would be my life. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good one.